Hey, Cavs fans, welcome to the Cavs Pick and Roll Podcast, the podcast for diehard fans by diehard fans. I'm Alex, and I'm here with Corey. Well, Corey, it's the ending of another Cleveland Cavaliers season. How you feeling?
It's been about 72 hours, Alex, since the Cavs season came to an end. I won't say by choice. Life continues to get in the way, but we naturally didn't do an episode right away. And you would think by now we would have some time to assess, cool down, you know. Nah, man, screw that. That was some bullshit. I'm still fired up. I know a lot of Cavs fans are still fired up. It's so unfortunate, Alex, because we finally broke through. We made it to the conference finals. First time without LeBron, which we've had to hear stuffed down our throats by the media, right? Ever since it's happened. First time in 30 years in Cavs franchise history. We get there and it's just a terrible effort, right? An embarrassing effort as you get swept by the New York Knicks, who are the hottest team in the basketball right now. 11 straight. They're sitting here resting while Oklahoma and the Spurs are battling it out right now as we speak. Spurs are up, by the way, so the series could go seven. And
Yeah.
man, it's going to be tough to watch the Knicks if they potentially win a championship when it's all said and done.
Well, that was the thing, right? Like New York was sitting there resting while we were playing two 7-game series. We played game after game after game. I can't remember how many weeks
Once,
in a row.
once the Detroit series, once the second round came, the scheduling always changes for the playoffs. In the first round, it's like 3 day gaps in between, and they give you an extra day for travel when you're going back and forth. Once the second round comes, man, it's every other day. It's like regular season basketball. And sure, it is a factor. When I look at the whole entire Cavs playoff run, yes, successful. They made it to the next level. Yes, I can say that they learned how to win in some tough scenarios, but man, it wasn't easy. It took 7 games to get out of the first round. It took 7 more to get out of the second round. They really didn't give themselves any favors and allow them to be in a situation like New York where they will well rested. They basically limped into that series healthy, mind you. No major injuries that we can blame this year, but a team playing every other night, just it catches up with you, right?
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate.
Well, a lot of factors, I think, there's so much to unpack, right? Like going back to
Absolutely.
the Garland for Harden trade. I mean, we basically traded one of our core players, a huge piece, for before a Hall of Fame player who's on the downside of his career, um, who shouldn't have to carry the load of a team.
No.
Who, oh man, like you know, that they played 30 games together with Harden on the roster. So, just trying to bring everyone together, just the offensive plan, offensive scheme, I think changed a bit with the addition of Harden. Man,
I
it's,
I think that trade is going to go down as one of the huge gambles by the Cavs organization
mhm.
when we look back from a historical standpoint, right? They're going to, people that don't understand or aren't living this era are going to say, man, they traded away what was Darius? I don't know, 25, 26, whatever he was, a former all-star point guard for James Harden at 36 going on 37. And then on top of it, they signed him in the offseason for 2 more years, which we'll talk about, and obviously got eliminated and didn't get to the finals. I think there could be a lot of um like negativity around that when you look at that.
Yeah, sure. I think there'd be a lot of negativity no matter what.
Yeah,
We were basically running it back. Um, And would we have gotten this far if we had kept Garland? Would Garland have been healthy? Was the toe still an issue? We know that it was because when he went to the Clippers, the Clippers didn't make it very far into the playoffs with Garland on the roster, and
no,
Garland even afterward said that he was still playing with only one good foot. So I think in hindsight, at the moment, it was a good trade. just because we did have a healthy all-star point guard, on the team. Had he had more time to mesh with this roster, I think we could have done better. Um, yeah, there's just so many different angles to play here. Of course, there's going to be the negativity.
Yeah.
Trying to look at the positives of it. Yeah,
It's so easy to pick it apart
it
after
is.
it fails, right? And the thing is you got to remember at that time when that trade happened, Garland hadn't played in weeks due to the injury. This is when Jalen Tyson was your number two scorer, because all it was Mitchell out there. Strus wasn't back yet. Garland's out. Mobley isn't doing anything on a consistent night to night basis. This was the time when Jalen Tyson was stepping up, right? So, and you got to remember there wasn't a bunch of chatter around that, but it seemed like Mitchell blessed that trade from the few kind of reports that came out afterwards, and even said that he wanted James Harden. So you have to wonder, was Mitchell getting frustrated at that point by not having Garland, and push the org to make that trade? I'm with you. They made that trade for this specific, this specific playoff run, and
Hmm.
they did get to the conference finals, not because of Harden, but he was an available body that was healthy, and we can't always say that in years past, right? So it's tough. He didn't have a great playoff run consistently, at least, right? And the Cavs got to figure out what they're going to do with him, and he's most easily going to be the most hated player by Cavs fans, most likely for however much longer he's wearing a uniform. But he's going to be back. I hate to say it, he's going to be back. The
He,
Cavs didn't make
he's
that trade to just let him walk, right?
right. He's certainly going to be back, because he's an asset that you can't get rid of.
Correct.
Just because we wouldn't get anything for him, and then it would be, we traded Garland for
Nothing.
30 days of
Right.
Harden,
Right.
which doesn't make sense. So you definitely got to keep him. You definitely got to re-sign him. What I've heard so far. What Windy is saying. If you watched any of the Windhorse
Mm-hmm.
interviews, he gets asked frequently about the Cavs because he used to be the Cavs beat reporter, and he was, he's pretty confident that the Cavs will sign Harden to some sort of probably 2+1 deal, 2 years with a player option, um, a little less money to
Mm-hmm.
help get us under the second apron, so we can make some moves, so we can get our MLE. So you know, they're saying we're tied to Harden, but I wouldn't say that we're tied to Harden. We're kind of tied to just the way that the salary cap is set right now in the roster that we have. I certainly think we'll make some moves. I don't see the front office, Mike Gansky or Kobe Altman, just being, happy with running it back with the team that we have, because we know we would just end up in the same situation next season that we are this season, playing New York, playing Detroit.
Right.
Everyone else is going to get better. We also got to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Windhorse also said if he did just let Harden walk, it's not like all of a sudden you have that money to play with, right? So he guaranteed he'll be back, but then that also turns into an asset, right? At some point down the line, whether it's next year's trade deadline, next summer, whatever. I mean, you can always move off of that at some point. I think, again, this is easy to talk about in retrospective, but I think the trade that has me thinking a little bit more is the DeAndre Hunter trade, because, sorry, both Keon and Shooter. Keon was barely in the rotation in any of these series. Shooter had some moments. He had a good game here or there, but really wasn't able to make a consistent impact to where, man, when our offense was stale out there, that's why you originally brought Hunter in, right? A big wing that can score. And, that's the trade I'm thinking about right now. Like, man, what if we still had Hunter on this team? But again, it's easy to think that way when things don't go your way.
I don't know. Hunter, I would say Hunter kind of wasn't the same player when he was out there without Ty Jerome, though.
No.
Those two just fed off each other so well. Like, that was like just an awesome pairing to have those two come off the bench, and they were so familiar with each other. they knew each other's spots, they fed each
Yeah.
other, they could pick and roll together, and they were both great defensive players, so they
Yeah.
both just kind of meshed so well together. Hunter, Ty Jerome on his own or Hunter on his own, like I don't know. I wouldn't bank on that too much as
Yeah.
far as and then you're talking about Schroeder coming off the bench to be your basically your starting your bench point guard in the second unit and his production, and it's kind of like you don't really need him to do a whole lot other than set up other players and try to be a playmaker. He doesn't need to come in and suddenly be the man. I think he did pretty well for what we needed him to do in the postseason, but I certainly think that's a position we still could upgrade.
Definitely
Craig,
need an
Craig
upgrade.
Porter Jr. I don't think is the guy yet, or if he will ever be, and I'm not as confident in Schroeder either. So I
Right.
think that's definitely a backup point guard still, or second playmaker for the second unit is still kind of a position that we could chase after.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So let's kind of go back to this playoff series with the Knicks, and we'll talk more about offseason and all that kind of stuff. So Alex, it was a quick series. Got to give some props to the Knicks here, right? I mean, the Knicks are again the hottest team in the NBA. They swept the Hawks. They're on an 11 game win streak, and they're a team that's been around a little while. We talked about on the last episode. They beat us the first time around. You know, our first kind of run into the playoffs with them back when they still had Hartenstein and Julius Randle was pushing Mobley around, and we had who was it? Danny Green guarding Julius Randle. Remember all that? So they're they've been around for a little while, and they're just playing their best basketball at the right time of the season.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know. I give the Knicks no props. I think they suck. I think they played a Hawks team that was average. I think they played a
Yeah.
Boston team that didn't have Tatum all season. Uh, and then they got to rest while we played the number one seed. We played two teams that were top defensive teams in the NBA and went 7 games against both of them. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think we'd take New
Well,
York if we had a.
it's all about it clicking at the right time, though. And I guess my
No,
point
you're right.
is, props to them for clicking at the right time, and the Cavs deciding to forget how to play basketball and keep the teams like Toronto Raptors around and giving hope and struggling just to get past them,
I
basically.
give you that. The Cavs did forget how to play basketball there
Yeah,
for 4 games in a row.
they
I
did.
don't know
But
what they were
it,
doing.
it it all started, and I know this has been talked about to death now by the media, but it all started with that game one, Alex. One of the potential advantages you could have said that the Cavs had was they're not just sitting around, right? Just sitting on the couch waiting for their opponent. They had just come off the Detroit series, and in that first game, man, that second half comes, second quarter, third quarter, they're beating up on the Knicks pretty bad. Knicks offense looks terrible. Cavs are clicking on the road, up 22 points, 7 minutes left. I'm starting to celebrate as a Cavs fan, like holy, I can't believe this is happening, as a lot of fans were. And man, in a blink of an eye, that lead was gone. And that game is, I'll say, considered controversial now, right? Because of how that ended and how Kenny coached that game. He called a one timeout during that entire run, made no adjustments to help James Harden. Our oldest player on the team is guarding their best player in Brunson, and just play after play got picked apart. At one point, they started having like Sam Merrill come over for like a half-assed, double team, but not really, to try to force the ball out of his hands. But they just could not stop the run. And Alex, man, if they win that game, does that change the outcome of this series potentially?
I think it does. I think losing that 22-point lead and losing that game after having that lead just kind of broke them. They were just never the same after that. Uh, Man, that was brutal. Like I don't know what happened. I've kind of wanted to go back and rewatch that last 8 minutes of that game to analyze it and see kind of where the breakdown was. I just can't bring myself to do it. you
Yeah, you
know?
need some
I don't
alcohol or
wanna
something.
watch it again.
Yeah,
I saw it once.
exactly. It was unbelievable. I'm sitting there watching it with my wife. Kids are in bed at this point, right? We're just both in shock. And then on top of it, the Cavs still had chances to win the game. It felt like all they had to do was hit one or two shots and get a stop once or twice. And, that game potentially still ends up in the Cavs in the win column.
They couldn't even make a free throw.
No, no, they're missing free throws.
Killing me.
And I was a little bit upset that Mitchell was a little bit reserved. He didn't kind of recognize well enough to me, at least, what was going on. Like they kept giving the ball to Harden to bring it up, and we talked about how Harden, it's just everybody clears out and it's just ISO
Mhm.
basketball garbage. And it's just like Mitchell needed to recognize, man, you get down to 3 minutes left. It's like, all right, man, we can't F this up. I need to take this rock and I need to go on a 6-0 run or something like that to force a timeout and build that buffer again. And it just never happened. And overtime comes and the Cab just, they just fall apart. They couldn't hit a bucket and the game's over. And the problem with that, Alex, is like you said, it probably mentally broke them. But man, it was the next day, the Cavs were the laughing stock of the NBA. Just got crushed by everybody and anybody. And then how the rest of this series played, the Cavs were never in any of these games and never had control of any of these games. And then you skip to the last game, which is in Cleveland, by the way. You lose by 37, get your ass kicked, and you're just the laughing stock of the NBA. You get to watch the Knicks celebrate on your home floor with their couple thousand fans that bought tickets and drove over, celebrities there and everything. And man, the Cavs, man, have just been getting beat up every which way. And that's the hardest part, Alex, is that yes, they broke through and made to the conference finals, but they still look like the same weak team that they have that has been labeled on them for the last several years now. No heart, no fight, no energy, no sense of urgency. Can't get it done. Mitchell can't get it done. You know, and just there's just a bad taste that gets left in your mouth. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that narrative at all because they did make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, which is farther than they've ever made it. I mean, that was our goal at the beginning of the season. I think if you would have asked 95% of people, what would the Cavs have to do to have a successful season? Everyone would have said Eastern Conference Finals. And that's exactly what they did. And it's not that fact that they made it that far. It's the fact that the way they lost those Eastern
Correct.
Conference Finals that really
Correct.
just kind of
It
okay,
hurts.
we got where
You
we wanted to get to, but damn did we
it,
get
and it
smoked in those finals.
and it's hard to come back on that, right? And that's where at least if they would have won that game one on the road and lost the rest, lost in 5 games, at
Mhm.
least you could say, man, the Cavs win in, they stole that first one. Or maybe they lose in 6 then, right? Instead of getting swept. Like I just wish there would have been some dignity. I say that right? Dignity attached to them being eliminated. There was absolutely none. It looked like a varsity squad playing and an eighth grade team out there. And there's just so what that you made it to the conference finals is kind of the
Mhm.
narrative right now. And then you throw in kind of the comments that Kenny made, Harden made. Harden, we're the better. I still think we're the better team. You just got crushed. Kenny talking about analytically, we're up 2-1. He got crushed for that. Nobody wants to hear that stuff, right? So they didn't do themselves any favors either, with not only their play on the court, but also what they said after the games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they're wrong. I
Uh,
just think, it wasn't probably
it doesn't
important.
matter, and
Yeah,
people,
it doesn't
it's
matter.
like
It
it's
doesn't
like
matter.
it doesn't matter though because it's like the LeBron and Jordan thing. LeBron will never be better than Jordan because Jordan went 6-0. Doesn't matter. You can't. There's nothing here you can say to anybody outside of the Cavs fan base that's going to save you or spin this in a positive light. All they see is you lost 4-0, you blew a 22-point lead, and you lost by 37 in an elimination game on your home court. You had no fight, no nothing. Like that's what I hate about this run is that that's what's attached to it.
We
Sucks.
had what mattered. We had Travis Kelsey and Taylor Swift sitting courtside. That's all that matters.
I heard he's a minority owner of the Guardians now. What's that all
Yeah,
about?
I did. I heard that the other day too. That's pretty wild.
That is pretty wild.
Maybe the Guardians will actually spend some money now.
Maybe, maybe, maybe. So, Alex, the Cavs, their season is obviously done now, right? Now it's a time of reflecting. And, now what is the next question? Dan Gilbert was very quick to come out to say we're going to do everything and anything to be aggressive and figure this out. And, you got to remember the Cavs are the most expensive salaried team in the NBA. Um, and I think Dan's pockets are still open, but they're not gonna be open forever. And he wants to see a good product for what he's paying for. But at the same time, Alex, and we're gonna get into it. I want to get your opinion on this. There's a whole bunch of theories and rumors and stuff that's been out there, frankly, for quite a while now, before the Cavs got eliminated. And I just don't know how much I buy into it, how much of it actually being real. Because the more I think about it, I just don't know if everything's going to line up or if the Cavs will actually have the balls to pull the trigger on some of this stuff. Obviously, I'm talking about LeBron. I'm talking about Giannis. I'm talking about those type of things. Um, what are your kind of thoughts? And now that we're in the off season, I think I know the answer. Did the Cavs need to do some minor tweaks? Do they need to make some major moves in your eyes? What do you want to see them kind of do here?
I think I think they're definitely going to make some moves. I think that almost no one is safe, but outside of Mitchell and Harden. That means Mobley could be moved, Allen could be moved, Struess could be moved. You know, Dean Wade, um, Keon Ellis. Just about everybody. I think Jalen Tyson. They'll probably try to hold on to him, but there's a lot of value there. Jalen Tyson's on a low contract. He showed flashes of brilliance during the regular season.
Mhm.
He's such a young player. His ceiling is super high. So if
I think
I,
he's a guy you need to
I'm
try to hang on to.
is
I think teams are going to try to figure out how to snatch him away because let's just go to the Giannis thing real quick because that's one of the
sure.
hot things, right?
Yeah.
Um, the Cavs have Evan Mobley, which is probably appealing to a lot of teams. What the Cavs lack though is draft capital. So what's the next best thing when you don't have draft capital? Well, what's your young talent on your team? I'm not talking about Tomlin. I'm not talking about Porter. You know, I want Evan Mobley and I want Jalen Tyson. Are you going to give up that much? Are you giving that up for Giannis? Some people will say yes. Some people will say, hold up a second here. You already got 37-year-old James Harden. You want to bring in LeBron at 42. Giannis is in his 30s now, and you're going to trade away your two youngest stars. Let's just I don't know if Tyson's a star, but potentially grows into a star player, right? And that's where I was talking about. Like, I just don't know if the Cavs will have the balls or not to do that. And even if they do it, Alex, I think that age and that starting lineup is going to show itself throughout the course of the season. A 42-year-old, a 37-year-old, and a 31, 32-year-old.
Hmm.
Mitchell's approaching 30 or turned 30. Like, you all of a sudden have just become the oldest starting lineup in the NBA if all those stars align. Would it be as exciting as hell? Absolutely. Media would go nuts. Cavs fans would go nuts. But just, man, we know it's a long season, and that's just how much are you willing to give up. When you go with LeBron stuff, he's not signing. He's not signing for 3 million or whatever the Cavs have. So the other thing that's been floated around a lot, and I know you heard it as well, is you might have to do a sign and trade. Are you trading Jared Allen as well to bring in LeBron? Jared Allen, Max Strus, or maybe they try to get Tyson. Like, are you trading away all these guys to bring in two guys that are, you know, up there in age? It's a huge gamble. It's a huge gamble. You have a 1 year window, maybe two at max with that roster.
That's I think we're already in that window, Corey. I think when we made that Garland for Harden trade, that completely changed the course of the franchise. It completely changed. our timeline, we're in win now mode. Like Garden's already up there, like you said. Mitchell's 30. He's in his prime. He's going to be going on the downside of his prime in 4 years. So I think that they will do everything they can to get someone Giannis or someone like Giannis. I don't know about LeBron. I think that's still a reach. I think a lot of Cavs fans
Yeah.
want to see that. I think there's smoke behind that because, yeah, LeBron's about to retire. They want him to come do a retirement tour. He's still a good facilitator, still a good playmaker. He's still a great passer. He doesn't attack the hoop like he used to. He's never been that great of a three-point shooter. His defense is suspect. LeBron would be an incredible veteran to have on the bench, but he's not a guy that's going to change the course of the you know us getting any farther in the playoffs than we are right now. I think Giannis definitely would. I think he's a complete on another level than Mobley is for
He
sure.
is. He is.
Even Jalen Tyson, like, what is Jalen Tyson's ceiling? Jalen Tyson, he's a great shooter. He can shoot the three. He's got some nasty defense. He's almost like he's physical. He's that kind of player that we need. He's almost like a non-villain version of Dylan Brooks. And we kind of need that, but he's still so young. It could be, 3, 4, 5 seasons before he reaches the level that we need him to be at. On the timeline that we're on, I don't know that he is gonna be there to help us enough. So I think if you can trade Mobley and Jalen Tyson and maybe a pick for Giannis, you have to do it because we need to win within the next 1 or 2 seasons because of our trajectory that we're on.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are all fair points. I just, man, can you do it without getting so much older? Because Giannis is the next youngest guy, right? But you still have Harden, who'll be 37, 38, potentially 39 if he, plays here another 2 seasons, whatever it is. You got LeBron in his age. And just again, thinking about the pieces that potentially go out to bring in, the Giannis, you're trading youth to continuously get older. And again, it'd be, man, I'd be shocked if the Cavs do it. And if the stars align, I would give them props for going for it. It makes me wonder, what would be left? What would our bench look like? There's a lot of factors to consider. Um, but I do wonder if again, it's all smoke and mirrors. If anything will actually happen, I think Cavs fans will be very disappointed if essentially the same starting five, whatever that is, because really it's just the four and then whoever they feel like plugging in at the small forward position. If we started the season next year with that same starting five, I think a lot of Cavs fans would be disappointed in the offseason. Um, but Alex, sometimes things come out of thin air too, right? Like it's not like we heard about the Mitchell thing before it happened. You never know what other kind of moves are out there. It's just the LeBron and the Giannis thing is just what everybody is stuck on because it's just the LeBron thing we've heard about forever now, and the Giannis thing we've heard for half the season. So that's what everybody's stuck on. But I just wonder if there's other options out there that are just as good without you having to get just as old or potentially giving up as much to get there. Because I don't think this team is far off, Alex. I don't think they need to flip half this roster over. I think that'd be a mistake. It's just going to be very interesting to see what the Cavs are able to do and what direction they go in.
I agree with you, and I don't think that it's necessarily the bench. We're always excited during the regular season that we have this so many great players and super deep team, and when we get to the postseason, we're going to be able to use all these players. But the truth is, when you get to the postseason, you're only playing your top 7 or 8 guys, no matter what.
Yeah.
That rotation shortens. That's why you didn't see Keon Ellis hardly get any minutes. You didn't see Jalen Tyson get hardly any minutes. Tomlin got no minutes. Like all these guys that played during the regular season aren't getting minutes because you shorten that rotation down so much. So if we can upgrade guys, in that top 6, 7, range of players that we have, like I'm not concerned about who's sitting on the bench or not. Those are just regular season players. They don't get you any farther than you need.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that there was some criticism around that. Like, if your guys are tired because they just went through 2 7 game series, you have some people on your bench that can play basketball, like a Keon Ellis, like a Jalen Tyson. I've even heard of Thomas Bryant. Why didn't he get some more run, just to go out there for 4 or 5 minutes, draw a couple fouls, push some guys around, and grab a rebound, right? Just to give these guys a couple minutes of a break or whatever. But I get it. Your rotation gets skinny down. I don't like it, but I understand it. And just again, it'll be interesting to see. This year was kind of weird because it's the first time we can't say that the exit was due to injuries, or anything like that, right? Sure, everybody's kind of just limping around because of the schedule, but you didn't have anybody sitting in street clothes. And maybe that's what helped you actually get through those first 2 series. If Jared Allen's sitting in street clothes, you probably don't get out of those series, right? So kudos for that. But now they just got to figure out and continue to learn from this, and figure out what other retooling can they do to make sure that they can continue to progress next season. And at the end of the day, Alex, I mean, we've had, what, 4 or 5 years now of kind of disappointing playoff runs, but this team has been relevant for 4 or 5 years now, and has been a championship caliber team for at least the last 2 seasons, and will continue to be next season as well. So
Mhm.
that's the one positive I'm trying to hold on to, Alex. It's not like they're in blow up mode. It's not like they're about to become the Sacramento Kings, and now we got to watch this thing rebuild over the next half a decade or something like
Right.
that. They're
Like,
still a relevant team that's right there.
I want to talk about that a little bit because, that is like, if you read the Cleveland Cavaliers subreddit, like, there's just so many comments about, fire Kenny.
Mhm.
We got to blow up this team. Like,
Yep.
it's not working. We can't run it back. And I, I just wonder, like, do these people understand that only one team out of all the NBA teams can win a championship? Like, the Cavs finished, they were top four.
Right.
They beat the number one team in the East. They
And
did
I don't even
pretty
think,
well.
and they didn't
Like,
even play their best basketball.
they didn't.
They didn't
They
even play
could
their best basketball on top of it.
absolutely. Like what I was saying earlier, like they added Harden at the end of the season. Like, they're not even like, cohesive yet. They're not meshing
Yeah.
well yet. They don't know each other very well yet. Like, they need time together. And just so many people are like, blow it up, all this, all that. And it's like, if they do that, it's not like you're going to blow up the roster and win a championship the next season. Like, I don't know what these
Yeah.
people are thinking. Like, sure, you're going to blow up the roster. You're going to get a new coach. You're going to get a bunch of draft picks. You're going to be a lottery team. The Cavs may not be relevant for another 30 years, just
Yeah.
like the Knicks were.
Now,
Like,
the Cavs are
it
actually,
blows my mind.
in our lifetimes, we are spoiled as
Mhm.
Cavs fans, because although you and I were too young, folks a little bit older than us, they had the Mark Price, the Brad Doherty, Cavs teams who were good. They obviously weren't able to break through, similar to our era's team right now. You had the LeBron runs, both in the early 2000s and then in the 2010s and all that stuff, and ultimately a championship. And like I just said, the last 4 or 5 years, you've been a playoff team here with the new era, the new generation. So when I look over the last 3 decades, we're spoiled as Cavs fans, right? We've had very good fortunes, and that goes to ownership and the team making great decisions and who they draft and their trades and all that, minus Anthony Bennett. But again, this Cavs team is going to be relevant again. And if the Cavs did do that, you'd be excited for about a hot second, and you'd be miserable when they would win 21 games next year if they did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So get
I
out of
read
here
a
with
lot of
that.
comments of,
Get out of here with that. Get off subreddit, Alex.
yeah, I know. I read a lot of comments. People have a lot of nostalgia for that, that uh, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland team.
Yes. Yes. That
People,
comes up a lot.
that team never even made the playoffs. They
Right.
were in a couple play-in games and couldn't win either one of them. But that team never made the playoffs, and people are saying that they regret making the Donovan Mitchell trade now. And it's like, how many times have the Cavs been in the playoffs since LeBron left without Donovan Mitchell?
Again,
Zero.
it's
None.
always easy to beat up past decisions when the here and the now doesn't work out the way you want it. And like you just said, I like what you said a couple minutes ago about do people realize only one NBA team, wins this thing at the end of the year? What if you would have beat the Knicks and instead of getting swept and embarrassed in the conference finals, that would happen in the finals? Would you feel any better right now? No. You would feel the exact same way, right? It is very difficult to win a championship in the NBA. There's a lot of factors, and we've talked about that to death, right? Again, the Cavs, like you said, were one of the last four teams. And again, that's why I'm torn on, do they really need to go home run swinging here and change out almost half the roster just to bring in two older guys, or they could do something a little bit smarter? I don't know what it is. I don't have the answer. Can they go out and get somebody else that nobody's even thinking about for right now, and not have to and give up only half of what they would have to give up to get these other guys that we're talking about, and is a better fit on top of it, not only here in the now, but for the future? Because LeBron ain't going to be here for the next 5 years. Giannis probably wouldn't be here for the next 5 years, right? It's a 1 to 2 year thing, and then you're blowing it up anyways if it doesn't work out. So,
I do kind of get those Laker vibes of when they added Karl Malone and Gary Payton, and they just start
yeah,
stacking all these old all stars, and
yeah,
Kobe
yeah.
carries them through the playoffs, but they can't ultimately win it
It's
all because it's just so old.
yeah, it's hard to know what to believe. But I saw a report come out today about LeBron saying, him and his camp want the Lakers to make him a contract offer, if they are expecting a max contract offer, probably because of what he did in the playoffs and basically had to carry the team through that with the injuries they had. And anything less than that, he wants an explanation of why and what they plan on doing with that money. That right there tells you he's not going to come here for a hometown discount, if that's true, by the way, right? And I forget who it was. It was either Chris Fedor or some other local beat reporter. They also made the comment that made me laugh and it really put things into perspective. LeBron isn't coming home to make less money than Dean Wade. Okay? It's not happening. So again, if you want LeBron, and I would love to see it happen, but not by shipping out Jared Allen, not by shipping out Max, not by shipping out other rotational pieces, man, because it's addition, but it's also subtraction, in my opinion. How are you replacing Jared Allen? How are you replacing that? So I just, again, it's fun to think about. It'd be fun to play some 2K with that team and all that stuff, Alex, but I just don't know how realistic it is.
I feel
So
like Jared Allen's pretty safe. Like he's a great center. Um,
he's
yeah, like
always
you
the
said,
guy
he
that gets
puts up
brought up, though. He's
plays.
always the guy that gets brought up.
I feel
He's the new Kevin Love, man.
not it's just
Every
not
year.
deserving. It's just not deserving. And he's on a very team friendly contract. He's only making 20 million. He
Yeah.
makes half as much as, three, four other players on the roster. And he is an integral piece that isn't easily replaceable. It's just not easy to go find a big man. Look at Bryant. He's our next big man up, and he can't fill Allen's shoes.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. So the good news is there won't be any shortage of drama this off season, as far as rumors and speculation and buzz. And eventually, as some more time goes on, we get past the finals, the draft happens, and all of a sudden trades start happening. There'll start to be some excitement from the Cavs fan base, you and I included, because it's like, all right, what are the Cavs going to do, right? And I don't know, I'm trying to, for myself at least, set some expectations of, I I don't know if I'm going to realistically see this team look completely different the start of next season, just because, again, their cap situation and a lot of stars that have to align. That's not the worst thing in the world, but I don't want them to stand pat either, Alex. So I know it's kind of condescending of itself, but they need to make some decisions, right? Are they going to bring back Max Struess, for example? Are they going to re-sign Dean Wade? Um, you know, don't freak out, Cavs fans, when Donovan Mitchell doesn't re-up this summer, because guess what? He can make more money if he waits till next summer. But that also puts some extra pressure on the Cavs' upcoming season, with him being, officially a free agent in 27. Like, there's all these things and factors that will continue to put the pressure on the Cavs to retool and make this team better. It's just I don't know what capacity that's going to be in, and that's the exciting part, though, Alex, is just again to see what is this team going to do now? How are they going to react?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said earlier, I don't think anyone's safe outside of Mitchell
Yeah,
and Harden.
yeah, they shouldn't
Everyone's
be.
fair game. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's lots of endless possibilities. So
and
it'll
I'd
be fun.
rather
It'll
make
be
a
fun to
move,
talk about.
this offseason than trying to tack somebody on at the trade deadline like we did with Harden, and then they add 3 players, and
Mm-hmm.
we're playing good, but we're not playing championship ball because we're trying to get these new players to fit a new system and mesh and congeal, and it's just a
Congeal.
lot.
You say
Yeah,
congeal?
yeah, congeal.
I'll have to look that
Is it?
up.
All right.
How do you spell that? Congeal.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
Don't ask me to spell words. All right.
Yeah. 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 No. So yeah, the season ends in disappointment, but there is some silver lining there. You are still a championship caliber team. And we'll see what the Cavs can do, Alex, and we'll have fun this off season following along, and we just got to get through some other things, right? We got to have this finals come and go, and just that's the hardest part, right? It's just waiting for all those things to pass so that we can see how the Cavs are gonna improve.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of lessons were learned, a lot of experience was gained, and hopefully we'll carry that into next season.
I hope so, man. God, I hope
And
so.
that's all I want to say about Kenny.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know. It is
I
what it
think
is.
I think
Kenny's
they'll
coming
be
back.
I
I know a
think
lot
they'll
of Cavs fans don't like it, but he's coming back.
I
So
think there may be an overhaul of the staff. Like I know Kenny's staying. The Cavs have said Kenny is our coach, but
they
I
said the
think that
staff.
Kenny.
They said Kobe's safe. They said everybody's safe.
No, I
That's the
mean like the
reports.
the assistant coaches. Maybe there'll be some changes there.
Yeah,
Seems like a good little shake up there for the staff.
maybe, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what that really does. I don't know. I
Maybe
don't
one
know.
of them will call timeout when they need to call
That
timeout.
well, that you need someone that just calls and manages your freaking timeouts. That's all you needed to do. Call a timeout.
Exactly.
All right, Alex, let's wrap up this episode of the Cavs Pick and Roll podcast. Want to thank you, Cavs fans, as always, for tuning in and listening. And Alex, let them know where they can follow us and connect with us.
Follow us on X at Cavs Pick and Roll. Shoot us an email, cavspickandroll@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr. Watch this episode on YouTube. Wherever you're listening, click like, subscribe, leave us a rating or review. We'd appreciate it.
All right, Cavs fans, there it is. We will talk to you again soon.
Peace out, Cavs fans.